Alright, let's get into it. It's going to be MF versus Vayne. We're going to be coaching the lane with control, which is going to be the MF lane. And we're coaching against the Vayne lane. Okay? Vayne lane doesn't have control, MF lane does have control early on. So we're going to be coaching with the perspective of control versus lack of. Okay? Hitting this minion here, or hitting the camp here, is just to throw off the opponent. Basically forcing them to think that Talia started bot side. Don't worry about this in your gold games or platinum games, it's irrelevant. This is very good in high elo. This is Challenger, so in Challenger of course it's really important doing this, because now the opponent assumes that you started onto the opposite side of the map. Let's take a look here. Alright, so let's take a look. Walking up here is good. Here we're just scouting. And now what we want to do is we want to look here. We want to look for E into Vayne. Vayne must come through here. And when Vayne comes through this outside, she must work on these front lines first. The goal in this lane is to make sure we're killing off these minions as quickly as possible in order to get push lead against them. MF must stand north side, because if she stands north side, it forces Vayne to the south pocket. Then allows Braum to move down, and then potentially look for something with his Q. Okay? That's exactly what happens. So what Vayne is doing right now is actually error. Come through here. Do not go through north. MF must stand here, and she must look for max range E, while simultaneously autoing this minion, and then autoing this minion. Right? Then she's going to leave this one up, and then she's going to play here, and as these casters walk up, she's going to try to play, she's going to continue to assert pressure with E. Auto attack. Her E was a little bit late, but it's okay. This should have been done a lot better, but Vayne made a misplay. She should never approach the lane to the north side here. Braum's looking for Q, but doesn't find it. Casters are now moving up, and same concept again. As these casters move up and collide with each other, your goal again becomes to hit them as fast as possible. Vayne right now is on cooldown, because she just used her Q, it's on 2-second cooldown. We don't have E up, but again, all we're doing now is if Vayne walks up, we're going to walk up, we're going to look for the auto attack, we're going to pull these casters back, we're going to align them over here. Okay? Likewise, we're also going to stand over here, and we're just going to work on this south minion over here and try to get it as low as possible. Leona is irrelevant right now, she can't do anything against us. Braum has Q, so even if Leona walks up, it's really bad for her. She's going to take a ton of damage, so she can't ever really pass this like line here. Right? Complete control of the lane right now. This auto attack is acceptable, and again, the reason it's acceptable is because we have the bush down here. Now, if we make this auto attack up here, it's actually bad. The reason for that is because then these casters will jump on us, and then Vayne can auto attack us. And because her Q is coming up, she can press the attack, win the trade. Which means that standing down south here is always going to be better than standing north. We want to stand down here, we want to auto attack her, move back into the lane here. Leona's irrelevant, as we discussed. Again, now what we're doing is we're trying to get these minions as low as possible to make sure that we can bounce Q potentially. Well, actually, she has E level up. Never mind, ignore that. Level 2, you can look to do that, not at level 1. Not if you start E. You can ricochet the Q after level 2. You can start thinning out backlines, but not yet. Right here, again, very ADC basic stuff. Vayne wants to CS, stand here, look for auto attack. If Vayne has Q up, it might be problematic. But because Vayne is low HP and Braum can walk up, it's actually going to be okay for us to win the potential trade here. So, auto attack. Vayne doesn't Q in, because if she does, then Braum can hit her, and then these 3 casters hit her, which is going to be pretty bad. So this is a situation where trading north side is acceptable. Again, this is bad by MF. She should never walk like this, she should auto attack these minions as fast as possible. She doesn't have any incentive to move down to this area. Notice how she moves down for no reason. It's useless. Just auto attack the wave. You must auto the wave sooner. Braum can start giving a stack here. Vayne just used her Q for, well, why did Vayne use Q here? This is really weird by Vayne. Let me see this. Yeah, and as Vayne, actually, your goal is to just play against the Misfortune's Monopool as much as possible, while simultaneously running sustain items, which in this case, she's running Doran's Blade, but yeah. I think the Q is acceptable, actually. But you notice how they lose level 2. For actually no reason. They lost level 2 in a lane that they should have gotten level 2 in. Right? This is really big misplay. A big contributor to this is like MF and Braum trolling. MF is moving down, Braum is not auto-tagging the minions as fast enough. Here, just auto this down. You must auto this minion. It doesn't matter if you, like, you can shove it too hard. Yes, you want to avoid doing that so like you don't play the lane here. But you need to shove it enough to get level 2. You need to have a +2 or a +1 minion lead against them, and then you need to all in with that. They don't do that, unfortunately. Right? Leona gives a bit of HP to then get a better advantage in the lane, considering she has her second ability up, so it's actually quite poor. Poor misplay by Braum and Misfortune. I think Braum will die here. Perhaps this could have been played better. Let's take a look at this one more time. Q comes out, auto. Okay, so both players are stunned. That's fine. No, it doesn't look like they can get the kill, but I mean, it's okay. But regardless, this is a pretty big misplay by blue side bot lane, considering they should never really, they should really never die here. Of course, Nidalee ends up showing up, but that's irrelevant. Now wave returns into us. Now here, as bot lane, if Leona's on cooldown, which she isn't here. Now let's say hypothetically she is on cooldown. If you're Braum here and Leona is on cooldown, or if Braum is even here and Leona is not on cooldown, it's always good to place the ward here. You must place the ward here, because then you know, you have to play the lane a lot more defensively, and it's usually pretty okay. Here at this point, Vayne and Leona could just force to reset. They can shove the wave in and probably just take a reset. So let's see what they do. Of course, solo queue, Nidalee shows up, first split goes off, and now bot lane gets a really good event. Wow. Alright. They're both dead. Very nice. Now because of that trade, what ended up happening is the third wave ended up locking with the fourth wave, which means now Vayne can just shove out this wave and then look for a reset, and the next wave returns back in. So now MF and Braum are both off of tempo, right? Ideally, if Nidalee doesn't end up showing up, let's say Nidalee doesn't come and the kill doesn't happen, then as bot lane, our goal now is, okay, we can't play the lane with this HP on this monopool. Leona can't go in when the lane is being played here, it's useless. Braum can all in and actually look for pretty easy extended trades against us if we continue to play the lane at this HP and at this length. Which means that because we still have a stack on Leona, we should just try to shove this wave out, use the stack on the cannon, and crash the entire thing, and then get a tempo advantage, and then come back into the lane, buy a defensive item, and continue playing the lane out with the small lead that we have. Right? This is if, for example, Nidalee doesn't show up. Nidalee shows up, of course. Now we end up dying. I mean, the lane's pretty ugly now. But at this point, the control that was supposed to be an MF and Braum's side is now on Vayne and Leona's side, which is pretty tragic overall, but it is what it is. Roaming up to mid lane here is fine. This is just because there's really a fight happening and it's quite good to be here. I mean, Talia can solo shove this wave out. Bot lane should just be bot lane again. And now again, at this point, our goal is to either crash or slow push. Now, how do we decide whether we crash or slow push? Well, we don't want to play the lane here, of course, right? We can slow push the lane if this next wave is too close and we don't have time to crash this wave before this next incoming wave ends up locking. This is wave 6. This wave here is wave 7. If 6 locks with 7, and there's no way that we can kill off all of 6 in order to get a crash on 6 and then a buffer on 7 and then a return on 8 and 9, we must slow push 6 and 7, use that. So instead of crashing 6, getting a buffer on 7, and then returning on 8 and 9, we instead, if this is like too close to us, we would actually build up 6 and 7, and then we would actually we would buffer 8, and then we would have 9 and 10 returning to us. We would then play 9, 10, and then 11, etc. in our angle here, right? Obviously, that's when junglers can come in, and then whatever happens. But yeah, so at this point, in this case, the lane is quite close. We just want to look to slow push, and then we're just going to look to crash. Now, let me go back on this. Maybe there is a world where they could crash this. It doesn't look like they can. Yeah, they must slow push since this wave is very close. So the point is not the crash, because the crash and the slow push into the build-up is just a building block in order to get a better lane state for like minute 5:30 or 6:30, etc. Right? We're setting up the lane now in order to have an advantageous stance later into the game. That's the purpose of wave management. Here we need to just crash, but it seems like we're going to build this next wave up because Talia is coming down. So instead what they do is they do a third thing, which I didn't even mention, right? And this is also possible because the opponent is like not, here, I guess, or they're completely forfeiting the lane. But here what they're doing is they're building 6, they're building 7, and they're building 8. So let's go back on this one more time. This is 6 right here. 7 collides. Talia's moving down. 8 collides. All right. 8 collides, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive them on 6, 7, and 8. We're gonna buffer 9, and then we're gonna have 10 and 11 return it to us. If we're looking to invade them, then we want to push 10, and we want to push 11, and we want to push 12. So instead of the first sequence, they didn't do the first, and they didn't do the second. They did a third sequence where they built up 3 waves. This is also acceptable, and this is only acceptable is because they were allowed to build up 3 waves. Sometimes you might not be allowed to do that. If you're not allowed to build up 3 waves, then crashing on 2 is still acceptable. Obviously 3 is a lot better, but sometimes based on tempo advantages, and sometimes if your jungler needs to be elsewhere, crashing on 2 instead of 3 is always going to be, it's sometimes going to be better. That you would leave to your own judgment. Anyways, they played it like dog shit, to be honest, the MF and Braum, but it's okay. That's it for today. For this video, this has just been High Yellow levels 1 to 4. See you guys for the next one. Bye.